Have you ever seen someone get called out for stolen valor? My husband's family treats military service like a religion, and his older brother Greg is the high priest. I served too, but I never talked about it. And when my husband introduced me to his family years ago, I just smiled and nodded, while Greg dominated every conversation with tales of his heroic service. Explaining myself meant revisiting memories I spent years trying to bury, so I kept quiet and let him have his spotlight. This reunion started the same way, with Greg describing a firefight, except this time he stopped mid-sentence and looked directly at me. What did you even do in the military? I just realized I've never heard you talk about it. I said I was a medic. He laughed. Must have been nice, handing out Tylenol while real soldiers did the hard work. I felt my jaw tighten, but I smiled and said it kept me busy. His wife leaned in with a sympathetic look. Did you ever see anything traumatic? Before I could answer, Greg cut in. The most traumatic thing she probably saw was a hangnail. His parents laughed. My husband squeezed my hand under the table and I squeezed back. I could survive one more reunion for his sake. Greg launched into another story about a mission where his unit took heavy fire for 3 hours straight. He described the sounds of the bullets, the smell of the smoke, the look in his buddy's eyes when they finally got the all clear. The whole time he kept glancing at me like he was making sure I understood what real service looked like. When he finished, his dad clapped him on the shoulder and said he was proud of him. Greg looked right at me. That's what it's like when you actually leave the base. But I'm sure the air conditioning was nice. His mom laughed. You should be grateful you had it easy, sweetie. Not everyone's cut out for the real thing. I felt something hot building in my chest, but I kept my face neutral. My husband's leg was bouncing under the table. He knew I was close to my limit. Greg took a long sip of his beer and then said the thing that broke me. You know what I can't stand? People who play soldier and call it service. Where I come from, we call that stolen valor. My husband stood up. Shut your mouth, Greg. You have no idea what you're talking about. The table went quiet. Greg leaned back and smiled. It's cute that you want to defend your little medic wife, but maybe you should ask her why she never talks about her service before you embarrass yourself. He looked at me and shook his head slowly. Women like you love to play veteran until someone asks for actual details. My fingernails were digging into my palms so hard I thought I might draw blood. My husband started to respond, but I stood up and put my hand on his shoulder. I didn't say anything. I just walked outside. I opened our trunk and pulled out a small case I had never shown this family. I carried it back inside and set it on the table directly in front of Greg, and the whole room watched as I unlatched it and opened the lid. A silver star sat in the center, next to a bronze star, a purple heart, and a combat medical badge. Nobody moved. I rolled up my sleeve and showed the jagged scar across my shoulder. Shrapnel. Same night I earned the bronze star. I pointed at the silver star. This one was from a convoy ambush. I spent 6 hours dragging wounded soldiers to cover while bullets tore up the ground around me. Real bullets, Greg. Not a story I tell at parties. I looked at him. You want to know why I don't talk about my service? Because when I talk about it, I have to remember the 19-year-old Marine who bled out in my arms while I worked on his chest wound with one functioning arm. The room was dead silent. I remember his face. I remember the way he grabbed my wrist so hard it bruised. I remember his daughter's name because I had to write his family and tell them he wasn't coming home. And I remember what I said to him while he died. My voice cracked, but I kept going. I told him he was going to be fine. I held his hand and I lied to him until he stopped breathing. And then I moved on to the next one because there were more boys bleeding out in the dirt and nobody else was coming to save them. I leaned in close enough to smell the beer on Greg's breath. So go ahead, call me stolen valor one more time. His face had gone white. His mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. The grandfather, a Vietnam vet who rarely spoke at these things, reached over and picked up my silver star. He turned it over, examined the back, and set it down gently. Then he looked at Greg. Go get your medals. Show everyone. Greg stammered. I left them at home. The grandfather slammed his palm on the table. I know you got discharged 6 months in. Your CO called me 15 years ago. I kept it quiet to protect your mother, but I'm done watching you call a real soldier a liar. Greg looked around at his family, and every face stared back like a stranger.